Hey guys, welcome back to the Conjured Warren. Today, we're going to go into Chapter 1 of Memories of Ice. So, let's get straight into it. So, immediately right off the bat, we meet a elderly artisan named Munug. And I think this guy is leaving Darujhistan and heading to another city. And he runs into the one and only bridgeburners. Now, they're not the main bridge burners like whiskeyjack and by now Piran and also quick ben and kalam. It's picker and blend. And I actually like that Steven Erikson highlights some of the other bridge burners. I like it when series highlights side characters and makes them very quirky and badass and cool in their own way. So this elderly artisan who's thus far portrayed as very weak and pathetic almost, runs into these young, grizzled, sarcastic, witty military veterans guys. And basically, they try to bargain with them. You know, there's some banter back and forth. The bridge burners are trying to see if this guy is in some sort of illegal activity or if he is a legitimate artisan just trying to make a living. And I think they determined that, yeah, he's just this old artisan guy just trying to make a living. So they start bargaining with him, and Picker eventually deals with him to obtain 3 ivory torques blessed by Treach, Tiger of Summer for columns. And I think it's in this chapter that, they discuss what kind of god Treach is. And I remember they make a distinction of a soul taken ascendant versus a god versus a demigod. So, there's been some discussion of people ascending. And I thought that meant that someone who has ascended automatically just, becomes a god. But apparently there's tiers. There's a true god, there's a demigod, and there's also a soul taken ascendant, or some mixture of those 3. Maybe a soul taken ascendant is basically a demigod. But I thought that was very interesting. So it's cool because even if you're not a true god from the very beginning, you can become a soul taken ascendant, and then you can imbue items with your new godly powers, right? So that was really cool. And one more thing, I just want to go back real quick. One thing that I think whenever I see the bridge burners is I refer to a very famous group of military personnel in a very famous movie. Can you guys guess who it is? It's the Inglorious Bastards. Who else, when they see scenes of Picker and Blend, think of the Inglorious Bastards? Very grizzled, hard war veterans, but also just very kind of like humoristic, sarcastic, and witty. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyways, this nervous and sympathetic Munug just hurries off, and we think he's just the typical, side character who's gonna leave. And I honestly did not think so, because I remember in a very famous game that I played, we also saw a very sympathetic, nervous, sickly man who outwardly seemed innocent, but actually he was doing the bidding for one of the most evil entities ever. Can anyone guess? It's a very popular PC game. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, feel free to check out Diablo 2. Now, we go on to the next scene. And lo and behold, it goes back to Munug. I would think that if Munug was really a good guy, I don't think that they would shift the focus to his POV right away. I think of a movie right here where they show Munug like nervously looking back, hoping the bridge burners don't see him, and then going into like a shady area or shady building. And that's exactly what he does. And although the book doesn't tell us, it tells us that he's running off, and then as if it's nothing, he enters a warren. That's some suspicious activity there. But like I said, it truly is. And he enters a warren, and I think the book states that he goes into like a little tent, right? And how I envisioned it was kind of a pathetic tent. It's not like a grand old hideout where you think the super bad guy would be. It's just this like little, you know, very humble tent. And when we get inside there, we see that it's the crippled god. Yes, that's right, guys. When I first read the prologue, it talked about that crippled god. I think it's that same guy right here. Okay? So I guess he's still recovering for hundreds of thousands of years. And he's all hooded up. He's more of a, he also looks not that good. He looks sickly. He's coughing. So obviously he still hasn't recovered. So whoever those groups of summoners were that summoned him, I'm sure he hates them right now. I mean, heck, everyone should hate them because they brought this guy into the earth, right? And basically, as soon as they get in there, we understand that this elderly artisan has bargained with this crippled god, okay? However, we get a little hint in the dialogue of what the Malazan world is like. Although Munug and the crippled god had made a bargain, he thinks to himself, it wasn't wise to trust solely in a god's payment for services. So immediately we know in this world, it's a lot kind of like Greek gods, where the gods are many and various. They each have their own selfish motives, and they won't really always abide by moral methods to, engage in their dealings. And it looks like Munug basically painted a bunch of cards, and the cards basically portray gods or other people in a sad, tormented nature. And guys, when they go into this, I love the back and forth that they have. The crippled god and Munug have a little back and forth. And once he sees these cards, the crippled god is very pleased. And he says, "You have painted your own soul, mortal," which makes it seem like the god believes that Munug is just leading a very sad, pathetic existence, right? And then Munig's like, yes, he loves to suffer and he loves to be in pain. And the crippled god's like, yeah, right. You say you do, but you really don't. But you know what? You're wanting to be living a comfortable, good life is only going to lead you down to more torment. So those little back and forth sometimes, oh man, they really get to me. And basically, the god keeps up his end of the bargain, technically. Now, guys, Munug had tumors in his leg, so I think he was eventually gonna die. So the crippled god receives the payment of the cards and heals the tumors in his leg. And Munig's very happy. He's like, "Oh, thank you, God." But there's a catch. His legs don't even work anymore. That's right. His legs don't work. Now those heavy ass columns that the artisan got from Picker and Blend, yeah, they were heavy in the first place, but they're even heavier. This man can't even walk. And, the crippled god ends their encounter by saying even more stuff like, hey, like, I can prolong your suffering now. Very good, right? And then I thought Munug would be there in utter like shock and torment, but although he's in pain, he's like, yes, master, like, this is the true life. So, that leads me to believe that has this crippled god made a following and a temple and a religion in his name that has the underlying principle of pain and suffering. Do his followers like pain and suffering? That would be, potentially easy. In the Malazan world, there's very many people who are just injustice, suffering, and in pain. So he could use that as the main principle behind his following and his religion. So I think that could be true. And now, the crippled god, before the scene ends, says, "The world shall tremble." So I'm not sure how. He can just use a deck of cards, like the dragon deck, I think it was called. to just wreak havoc upon the world. It's all a little strange, like it's, I hope there's, a valid explanation for how this crippled god will really wreak havoc on the world. And he can just, it's not that he can just use a bunch of cards to, just destroy everybody like a voodoo doll or something like that. And then next, we go back to Picker and Blend, who still think Munug is just a regular old guy. And it looks like they're a little worried about the 3 torques that Picker has on her right arm. So what I imagine is just like 3 like whitish greenish rings, ivory looking rings on her right arm. And it's kind of like a RPG. It's kind of like even like Diablo. She picks something up and it's gonna, be her secret item that she can use in her benefit. But what they're afraid of is that it won't be in her benefit because, they have no idea what kind of god or what kind of ascendant this Treach is. And they try to confirm with Quick Ben. And lo and behold, Quick Ben says, hey, this ascendant is insane. I can't deal with this guy and make things better for you. And lo and behold, Quick Ben says, Treach is insane. I can't deal with this guy. You're on your own with this Picker. And, honestly, like, I don't know if this will be bad for Picker. A secret item or secret ritual, which results in one of our characters having some insane, but probably very powerful god attached to him or her. Guys, remember I told you I am originally a manga and anime fan, and that sounds pretty familiar to me. If you've watched Naruto, you know that that is a concept that exists, so I have a feeling that we might like Treach. And I get a feeling that Picker is not one of those characters that will just get killed off or won't have much meaning. I feel like she has a good place in this series. They also talk about the Panion Daemon, which right now I don't really care about because I know absolutely nothing about them. But then I think Quick Ben wants his tracker back. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Picker and Blend are still very smart and intuitive. When they let Munug go, they put one of Quick Ben's tracker pebbles in his bag. So now, Quick Ben, if he wants to, and he wants that tracker back, he can go to where that bag full of cards was. So Quick Ben does his spirit walk thing again, and he goes inside a warren. And once he gets there, he knows it's bad for him, but he's like, man, my curiosity just always gets the best of me. And it's not always good, but I still do it. Now, the closer crippled Ben, the closer Quick Ben gets there, the crippled god knows he's there, and he says, hey, you don't want me knowing about your tracker, do you? So, I don't know, guys. Okay, one thing that sometimes gets me when I'm reading the series is it seems like everyone knows everything and just things just happen. But I hope it's just that the crippled god is so strong and so wise that he's just not fazed by anyone or anything, okay? But now the crippled god apparently wants to bargain with Quick Ben. I don't know about what, but he wants to bargain with them to get revenge on the gods and the world. So guys, we have our motive for the crippled god. He wants revenge for what happened a long, long time ago. So, I don't know, it's super interesting. It makes me think, is he really a bad guy then? I mean, if a bunch of random little, like, moral people just summoned him and just got the crippled god totally wrecked, just wrecked into a million pieces, who wouldn't be upset about that? I mean, he's been suffering for hundreds of thousands of years. So who wouldn't be mad about that? But, I guess we'll see. Now, Quick Ben, I feel like this would be an amazing scene. Upon receiving the offer, Quick Ben responds by rejecting it. And how does he reject it? Not with words, by immediately opening up his warrens so that he can, yeet the crippled god, get his tracker, and get the heck out of there. But as he does this, I think the crippled god overpowers him. But then Quick Ben is saved by this strange or unknown ethereal creature. And it turns out that it's a child of Burn. And the child pleads with Quick Ben to save them, to save, whatever it is that's going on so that they can save the Earth. And once again, like I said, I just call it the Earth because I don't know what the planet is called. And then Quick Ben basically thanks him or her, and says, thanks, I'll be back. And the ethereal creature says that it will die, and that there's only about 10 years before the crippled god really just, ruins the entire world. And then Quick Ben eventually gets out of there. Now, one thing that got to me is, why was the crippled god so open to just talking with Quick Ben? If I were the crippled god, I wouldn't want anyone knowing about my plans. That's very strange to me. But I don't know, maybe it works out in the grand scheme of things. But he just so casually talked to Quick Ben like he didn't care at all. But anyways, Quick Ben gets the heck out of there and he's safe. So we're good, guys. Quick Ben is like that one OP anime character that you see in a lot of series that does really cool things, and he always manages to save himself or get out of it. I would like to see him do more functional things that get him out of situations. So far, it seems like he's so OP that he's not even afraid of gods or ascendants. So I don't know, maybe he himself has some really deep, mysterious background that we don't know about yet. Now, we finally go back to Paran. And I'll be honest, guys, like right now, when we went back to Paran, I was happy to see him. But after all the crazy stuff that happened, it wasn't as hype as in Gardens of the Moon. And also, he's in pain and disarray right now. He, for some reason, is in a lot of torment. And I feel like I read that he thinks the source of it is Animander Rake's sword, Dragnapor. So I don't know what relation they have. Did they even meet? Because if anything, Paran's relation to a sword was his sword Lucky, right? The one that was imbued with luck by Opan. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But right now, Paran couldn't care less about Malazan efforts. Of course, he's in utter torment. He's in pain. He's also worried about his family. Guys, Deadhouse Gates. If you're here, you read Deadhouse Gates. And I was shocked when we found out that Felisin was Paran's sister. That sucks, man. That sucks. But he does have trust in Tavor. He does. And I don't know about Tavor. Based on how she just left Felisin, I'm not sure how trustworthy she is. But yeah. So we know that he's in torment and he's drowning in abyss, right? So we'll see what happens to Paran. But he's got a little bit of main character energy, so I think something interesting will happen. And then next, we get reunited with whiskeyjack. Now, they're going to have a meeting. They will have a meeting with the entire military alliance, okay? Now, they're going to be allied with Kaladin Brood. Now, before, when whiskeyjack was with the Malazan Empire, they were fighting each other. Him and Kaladin Brood would have been fighting each other. But now they're allies. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, guys, that was my reaction to chapter 1. What did you think? I don't even know if I got everything right, because sometimes these books, I miss a lot. I remember in Gardens of the Moon, I feel like I just ran through it, but a lot of the time I was lost. So please let me know if I got something wrong. But I thought it was really, really cool. The engagements we had with Picker and Munug and the crippled god. That was my favorite part of the chapter. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining me. I love discussing this with you guys, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.